much, everyone. Thank you, Angel. That was really lovely. And I was screaming too, by the way, when I got the tweet from Lucy. So thank you so much. I guess I'll start. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. It's great to be in the Philippines. I just arrived last night, and it's my first time here. But so far the food has been amazing. So I'm really enjoying my time here. So today I'd like to share with you a little bit about me and my new book, Love and Misadventure. To write a book, like any creative pursuit, takes time. My time started in a refugee camp in Thailand. It's where I was born. Before that, my family were Chinese in ethnicity and living in Cambodia. When the Khmer Rouge came into power, my mother, father and 2 brothers had to flee, leaving behind all their possessions. They literally escaped into the jungle with only the clothes on their back. The rest of my extended family never made it out in time, and they were all victims of genocide. My family arrived at a refugee camp in Thailand. I can't remember anything about my time living in a refugee camp, but I do have this photo of my family taken before we were due to depart to Australia. So that's me there, the baby in my mother's arms. As you can imagine, it wasn't easy being a new immigrant in a strange country. My parents couldn't speak English, and my mother had to take a seamstress job in a sweatshop, working around the clock just to put food on the table. Over time, things improved a little. My father began practicing acupuncture, and my brothers and I attended school. As a child, my mother said I always had a pair of scissors in my hands, or a pen, making things and drawing pictures. In high school, I used to spend my time creating and writing little books, which my friends used to pass around the schoolyard. Here is one of them. After studying art at university, I decided to create a fashion line. I had no idea what I was doing, but I did have an idea for a character. I called her Akina, and she would attack teddy bears to steal their button eyes. It wasn't long before Akina became a t-shirt. And that t-shirt inspired a range that became a mashup of my childhood influences. Fairy tales, playing with scissors, and making art. Here are some examples of my fashion. And that's my Lilliput top, goose girl gown, and Pandora blouse. Before I knew it, I found myself on an interesting journey. I won a Qantas Food of Youth Award, and here's me looking nervous on stage. And that's a picture of me looking nervous on stage. I then got a mentorship with Peter Morrissey, who is an Australian fashion icon. Magazines started to write about me. Then I won a Churchill Fellowship grant and went to Japan to study the underground fashion subcultures in Tokyo. That's me in Japan with some of the wonderful people that I got to spend lots of time with and to interview. So yeah, it was an incredible experience. Suddenly I found my clothing being stocked throughout Australia and boutiques in Harajuku, Japan. And just as I was about to embark on a possible fashion career, I decided to pack away the scissors and pick up a pencil. It was time for a change. I've always loved books and hanging out in second-hand bookstores. There is something wonderful about the smell of old books, or to me anyway. In fact, this peculiar madness began to consume me, and I just had to make my own. It meant I had to start writing again and creating art for the words. I began making limited edition handmade books and hoped perhaps people might like them. Maybe even buy them, fingers crossed. This was Poems for Theatre, a collaboration I did with a classical music composer, Cyrus Nurin, and he actually set some of his music to my poetry and turned them into lyrics. So this is the exposed spine. That was pretty challenging, but kind of like a cool feature that I like to incorporate someday into my books. This is just the cover of Poems of Pedro. And that's the Little Mermaid, and that's just the cover. Lucky for me, people did start collecting my books. My handmade book, Charlie's Widow, was presented to cult film director Tim Burton at the opening of his Wonderland exhibition at the Australian Centre for the Moving Image. And that's the book that he received. He said he really liked it, and of course I was thrilled. Little did I know at the time that it would be my last handmade book. I have always exhibited my art in Australia, little shows here and there. If I was lucky, the paintings would sell, and I would celebrate with pizza. If they didn't, I would post them online, hoping that a buyer might come along. One particular day, a buyer did show up, and I was very lucky indeed. What started out as a simple transaction fast became a year-long love letter. He was a writer too and lived in a forest of twisted trees by the sea. Well, to cut a wonderfully romantic story short, I decided to hop on a plane and move to New Zealand, where I unpacked my books, scissors, pencils and poetry. Here is a photo of a sunset from my studio today. It wasn't long before Michael and I started working together on projects. Ideas for paintings, books, even fashion. I started exhibiting in shows at the renowned Copper Gallery in Santa Monica. We have also worked with a couple of my favourite artists, Mark Ryden and Audrey Kawasaki. My work started appearing in other US galleries. And I was also handpicked to exhibit in the Playboy Redux exhibition curated by the Warhol Museum and Playboy Enterprises. It really felt like I was on my way to becoming a full-time artist. That was my career path. However, time was to prove me wrong yet again. In fact, I was busily putting together a collection of artworks for a major solo exhibition when something really extraordinary happened. The poetry I had been writing in between painting was starting to get noticed and suddenly went viral across Tumblr. People started writing and asking for a book. Rather than make one, I thought about publishing one. Michael thought it was a great idea too, so L&M Publishing was born. And Clown Girl, who was supposed to be part of an exhibition, had a career change too. Everything happened so fast. I prepared the manuscript of poems and prose in a matter of months. Some had already been written years ago, others were written yesterday. I designed the front cover in a couple of weeks. The sample copy came back from the printers in a matter of days, and Clown Girl was on the front cover, minus the hat. I was happy with the inside of the book too. All of the pages explored the intricacies of love and loss, swinging between the woeful and the whimsical. I have always enjoyed writing about complex themes and expressing them simply, which is why I love the works of poets Robert Frost and Emily Dickinson. What's most important to me is that a reader can connect and relate to the words, and that's exactly what happened. Within 3 days of release, Love and Misadventure became a #1 bestseller on Amazon. Word started to spread on social networks, and the roller coaster ride began. The book started to shoot up the ranks of the book depository charts too. The selfies started appearing on Tumblr. More and more every day. Bookstores started contacting me, such as Fully Booked. Legendary New York literary agent Al Zuckerman called me, and I was signed by Writer's House. US publisher Andrews McMill took over my book on September 17th last year, and Love and Misadventure started to roll out country by country. Before I knew it, I was on a book tour in Singapore. The next stop was Malaysia. I was meant to go to the Philippines too, and then Haiyan struck. Like everybody, I was heartbroken when I saw the terrible damage it caused to the country and people's lives. I just had to do something to help. I decided to donate 100% of my US royalties per week and got my publishers to match me. The word spread on social media, and all money raised was donated to the Philippines Red Cross. I sincerely hope you now know a little more about me and how my book Love and Misadventure came to be. It is still very, very early days, and what happens next, only time will tell. I do know, however, I want to spend my time writing. I have discovered I'm perhaps more author than artist, fashion designer, or bookmaker. And telling stories has always been the common thread to everything I've done. On that note, I would like to thank you all for being so kind and taking the time to hear my story. Thank you. Okay. Does anyone have any requests? Sorry, I didn't catch any of that. The Wanderer? Okay, can you tell me what page it's on, anyone? I know it's terrible, I should have it all memorised, but okay. The Wanderer. What is she like? I was told she is a melancholy soul. She is like the sun tonight, a momentary gold. A starving dimmed by dawning light, the flicker of a candle flame. A lonely kite lost in flight, someone once had flown. That was The Wanderer. Does anyone have any other requests? Souls? Okay, so does anyone know the page number for Souls? One, sorry. 135. Okay, great, found it, thank you. Souls. When two souls fall in love, there is nothing else but the yearning to be close to the other. The presence that is felt where a hand held, a voice heard, a smile seen. Souls do not have calendars or clocks, nor do they understand the notion of time or distance. They only know it feels right to be with one another. This is a reason why you miss someone so much when they are not there, even if they are only in the very next room. Your soul only feels their absence. It doesn't realise the separation is temporary. Can I ask you something? Anything? Why is it every time you say goodnight, it feels like goodbye? That was Soul. Any more requests? All or Nothing? I think that's somewhere in the beginning. What was the number, sorry? 131, okay. All or Nothing. If you love me, what you see, only your eyes would be in love with me. If you love me for what you've heard, then you will love me for my words. If you love my heart and mind, then you would love me for all that I am. But if you don't love my every flaw, then you mustn't love me, not at all.
Okay, if you want to hear more poetry, you can probably request it. Maybe you can request it when you ask questions. But the floor is now officially open for questions for Lang about her work, about her upcoming work. There's going to be some upcoming work. So the microphone is right in the middle of the hall, and you can just step up and ask your questions. Yes? Okay, I'll start all of it then. Do you have any upcoming work or plans for a new book?
Yes, I'm working on a new book at the moment, and I'm almost finished it. I've just got to do a few more artworks, and I want to write a few more pieces as well. So hopefully that'll be finished soon, and then I'll have to talk to my publishers, about how we're going to proceed. But hopefully it'll be done this year, and hopefully in the earlier part of the year rather than the later. So fingers crossed if it all goes well. But there's a new book on the way. And Michael has a new book coming soon too. Well, if you guys don't know, Michael's my partner and he's an amazing writer. Yep. Anyone else?
You can actually raise your hand. I can bring the microphone to you. Okay, over there. There you go.
When you get inspired by something, do you usually produce the artwork first or the poetry?
I'm pretty sort of cruisy, with how I sort of create my work. So I don't really have any rules. Sometimes I'll do a sketch and, I'll think of a poem to go with it, or a piece of prose, or an idea or something. Or sometimes I'll just write something and then I'll create an artwork based on what I've written. So I sort of just go, based on instinct and feeling. I don't really have any rules at all.
Hello, we have one from the back, and then I'll go to you afterwards.
Hi, Lang.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for being here. I love your poem, Before There Was You. It really made me cry.
Oh,
Yeah. Thank you. Beautiful. My question for you is, for you, what makes a poetry great? A certain piece great?
I think, all forms of creativity are valid. I don't think there is a good or a bad poem. I think, all creativity deserves its day in the sun, no matter who writes it or who creates it. One person can passionately love a poem just as much as another person can passionately hate it. So I think there's no good or bad poem. I think it just depends on what you like or don't like. And, it's so subjective. People like different things.
One last lang.
Yep.
What advice can you give to writers, any creators of writing?
Advice? I think, no matter what discipline, you're in, I think it's good to be inspired by other writers, other artists. If you want to write, then I think it's good to read a lot. But it's also good just to sort of live your life, because I think experience plays a really big role in your writing, and the more you kind of experience, the more you have to draw from. So I think just write from your heart, just keep writing, whatever your heart tells you, and you'll soon find your voice.
My favorite work of yours is Angels.
Yeah.
Can you please read it?
Yeah. Oh, did you want me to read it now?
I have a question.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
Where do you get your inspiration? Personal experiences, and do you also observe other people's relationships and interactions?
I think it's a mixture, because these poems are written over many years, so they're written about my personal relationships, things my friends went through, and then when I sort of started sharing my work, via social media, then what happened was I was opening it up for people to send their poem requests. So it's almost like a collaboration between me and all of you in a way, because I was doing poem requests. It's just a mixture of many different things. I also write from empathy and imagination. So it just depends, really. It comes from many different places. Now, do you want me to read Angels? Okay, I'll do that. That was on page 140? 145. Angels. It happens like this. One day you meet someone, and for some inexplicable reason, you feel more connected to this stranger than anyone else, closer to them than your closest family. Perhaps because this person carries an angel within them, one sent to you for some higher purpose, to teach you an important lesson or to keep you safe during a perilous time. What you must do is trust in them, even if they come hand in hand with pain or suffering. The reason for their presence will become clear in due time. Though here is a word of warning. You may grow to love this person, but remember, they are not yours to keep. Their purpose isn't to save you, but to show you how to save yourself. And once this is fulfilled, the halo lifts and the angel leaves their body as the person exits your life. They will be a stranger to you once more. It's so dark right now, I can't see any light around me. That's because the light is coming from you. You can't see it, but everyone else can. Okay, any more questions? Hi.
Can you read the poem He and I later? And
Yes.
do you have any specific advice for the girl in the poem or the girl in Just Friends? Like those.
Advice. I'm not sure if I'm the best at love advice, but I think I was actually talking to someone about this earlier. She was sort of someone was interviewing me, and she said, "Well, have you got any advice for people who are in that position where you have feelings for someone who might not necessarily return them as easy as just a friend?" And I think everything happens for a reason, and everything is a life lesson. So if you have feelings for this person, it's for a reason, and obviously you can't sort of control what you feel, even if you don't want to feel it. So I think just go with it and let it run its course. And people come into your lives for a reason, even if it's just to teach you how to let go.
Microphone's here. I have a question right here. I'll go to you guys after. Hi.
Hi.
Among all your works, which one is your favorite?
I have a special spot for. I sort of like switch favourites all the time. So, but right now I think I like Sea of Strangers, because I'm not sure if you guys know the story of Sea of Strangers. I wrote that sort of when I was alone at the time, and I was feeling a little bit sad one night, and I was just drifting off to sleep, and then it just sort of popped into my head, so I got up and I quickly scribbled it down. And when I was looking at the poem in front of me, I just felt really overwhelmed with sort of gratitude, and I had this feeling of relief, like I felt like I was safe. It was really hard to describe, and I sort of began crying a little bit. And a couple of months later, that was when I met, my soulmate, who's Michael, and that's what the poem is sort of about. It's about everything is predetermined, and, the love of your life is there waiting for you. And it's a very romantic notion, but it's one that I believe in. So, yeah, that's my current favourite.
I have a question here, but we already set up the mic over there, so that's much closer to that side, so you can go to that microphone over there.
Maybe you can form a line if you have a question already.
Hi, Dan. I'm Shane. I'm 17, and I'm like self-proclaimed career as well. But I would like to ask, with writing poetry and prose, how do you create, or like, what's the best advice you could give in creating effective imagery?
I think they're very, descriptive. I think just, you just have to really write from your heart, and generally, I think your heart knows best. And I think if you just sort of really listen to that inner voice, then the words sort of just form around it. And and I think it's really good to read lots as well, because I think our books, as a writer, our favourite authors are our best teachers. They're the best people to learn from, if you just sort of look at their work and, the way they structure their sentences and things. And then you can sort of learn from that, and then eventually develop your own style and your own voice.
Another question. With writing, one of my biggest fears is having my words sound cliche or pretentious. Like, how can we prevent that? How do we avoid that?
It's not something I really think about too much when I'm writing, because, like I said, I just write instinctively. It's like a lot of things that you would write have been said many times before by many other writers, and that will happen. But at the same time, there are so many combinations of words and things that I think it's really hard to write something that is cliche. Does that make sense? Because I think every sort of creativity, every piece of creativity is its own unique sort of thing and embodies that. So I wouldn't worry too much about being cliche. Just write from your heart.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Hi, Nan.
Hi.
Hi, I'm a big fan, and my friend, I like someone, and and it's his birthday today.
Oh, that's sweet.
But it's quite unfortunate because he's at the hospital right now.
Oh,
So,
no.
I would like you to, I would like you to read Sea of Strangers. Because,
Okay, yep, I will.
he memorized it for me, and
Oh, God, it's so sad.
I'm so happy to hear that it's your favorite guy.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Well, I'll read it. I'll read it now. Thank you. And I hope he gets better soon. Okay. Sea of Strangers. In a sea of strangers who've longed to know me, your life set sailing to my shores. The arms that yearn to someday hold me will ache beneath the heavy oars. Please take your time and take it slowly, as all you do will run its course, and nothing else can take what only was always meant as solely yours.
Hello, Lang.
Hi.
I would just like to ask if you have a critic or someone you consider your number one critic, and or do you think that a poem should be critic at all? Because sometimes during the revision or the editing process, I get so frustrated with the line cuts or technicalities, so I end up abandoning the poem or...
Oh, well, that happens to me all the time. Like, I sort of try to work on a poem and then, it just wouldn't be working. So I've abandoned lots of poems before, and sort of some poems I write the first verse and I just can't kind of finish it. It's like The Keeper. I wrote the first verse, I think, many years ago, and then I came back to it recently and finished it off. I think, you just, if it's not working, then maybe just leave it alone for a while. But, generally I think, if a poem wants to come out, it will, and, it'll just sort of flow. But don't worry about it too much. Just, it's good to keep everything. With me, I generally memorise most things that I write, because they're in rhymes. So, I can come back to it, a few years later if I have to, because it's still stuck in my head. But if you don't memorise them, just keep a notebook or something of everything you write, because you just never know what could be useful. There could be a really lovely idea or something. Yeah.
So can I request for you to read Soul?
Okay, yep, soulmates. Does anyone know the page number?
119.
119, okay, great. Soulmates. I don't know how you are so familiar to me, or why it was less like I'm getting to know you, and more as though I'm remembering who you are. How every smile, every whisper brings me closer to the possible conclusion that I have known you before, I have loved you before, in another time, a different place, some other existence. Hi.
Do you ever write with a reader in mind, or do you just write for the sake of writing?
When I was sort of doing the poem request, then I was thinking about who I was writing for. But a lot of these books, like I said, were written. A lot of these poems were written, over many years. So it was before I knew that I'd ever have an audience for them. So yeah. Generally, I don't have an audience in mind, but if I'm doing a poem request, then I try to sort of put myself in their shoes and try to write from their perspective.
I guess just another question.
Mm-hmm.
How do you, more or less the messages, I guess, with your poems, you say you like to express themselves. Do you ever get people who sort of not really misinterpret, but they get, they feel differently about a poem than how you were originally intending to send the message across? And I guess how do you feel about that?
I guess, being a writer, it's pretty sort of a tough thing, just to put your work out there, because you do get a lot of critique on your work, and it's like, lots of people critiquing it. You get mostly, good critique, but then you also get the bad. That's just something you just have to live with, and it's all just part of being a writer. There are some poems that I write that people just, they just get. And that's where my audience is, and that's where I focus my energy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Audrey.
Hi.
And I don't really have a question, but I just want to say that I'm really inspired by your work.
Oh, thank you so much.
I'm not a writer, but then whenever I do write, I find myself writing really long stuff.
Yeah.
And then as of late, I've been cutting down. And then when I stumbled upon your work on Tumblr, I saw some of the feelings that would usually show up in the stuff that I write.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
And if it's not too much to ask, it's my birthday tomorrow.
Oh,
and
wow. Happy birthday for tomorrow.
I'd like you to read Lost Things.
Yes.
It's on page
Of
61.
course. 61, thank you. Lost things. Do you know when you've lost something, like your favourite t-shirt or a set of keys, and while looking for it, you come across something else you once missed that have long since forgotten? Well, whatever it was, there was a point where you decided to stop searching, maybe because it was no longer required or a new replacement was found. It is almost as if it never existed in the first place, until that moment of rediscovery, a flash of recognition. Everyone has one, and eventually have lost things, waiting to be found, yearning to be acknowledged for the worth they once held in your life. I think this is where I belong, among all your other lost things, a crumpled note at the bottom of a drawer, or an old photograph pressed between the pages of the book. I hope someday you will find me and remember what I once meant to you.
Hi, Lang.
Hi.
I'm really glad to hear that you enjoyed the Philippines, even if you've been here just for a couple of hours.
Yeah.
But I think a sad thing about this country is that writing isn't seen as a lucrative or a worthwhile pursuit, especially for those who want to pursue it in a professional sense. So what message would you have for the struggling, budding writers and poets who are trying to convince their family, their extended family, that writing is something that's very important and worthwhile?
Yeah. Well, that's something that I really identify with. I mean, I was lucky to have a very supportive family, because they knew I wanted to go into the arts. But where I grew up in, the community was, it was almost like you have to be, a doctor or a lawyer. That's a sort of vocation, and creativity is, not something that you're meant to go down. And I know how tough it is because, where I grew up, everyone would say to my parents, why would you let her go down that path? Like, doing art and everything, she'll never amount to anything. That's what I heard all the time. And I think I used it in a way as motivation, just to work really hard and, push through that. And I think it's just, it's almost like a thing in Asian culture. I think that there's that mentality that, art's not really feasible as a career. And the thing is, it is really, really tough. I spent most of my career living like a student, really kind of difficult. But I think if there's something calling you and whether it's writing or art or anything, you've just got to pursue it because, you can get a job and be very comfortable in that. But, the thing that you regret is that you didn't really go for it, and especially if you're young, that's something you should just you should really pursue. And, it's something that you have the freedom to do. I mean, if your parents tell you not to do it, you just have to keep doing it and push through. I mean, you keep sort of hitting your head against a brick wall. One day it'll give way, I believe.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And then questions left? Okay, over here, I see one.
Other authors have different writing processes. Like they drink coffee or they drink alcohol as they write. So do you have a writing process, any special writing process?
I actually don't, but I find that poems tend to come to me when I'm in a really relaxed state, like when I'm, running or doing yoga or cooking or something. They normally come as well, like late at night when I'm falling asleep. So I don't really have a process. They kind of just, come to me. Pretty much. I know Michael likes to have, a little bit of whiskey when he's, when he's writing. Yeah. No, I don't really have a process.
Hi. I'm not going to ask anything. I just want to say that I'm so amazed by how you were able to compress or articulate your feelings, because sometimes when you feel something, we can't find the right words, and you were able to compress your feelings in a few words. So can I request you to read Wishful Thinking on page 99?
Sure, of course. Wishful thinking. You say that you are over me, my heart it skips, it sings. I see you now with someone new. I stare, I blink. Someday I'll be over you. I know, I think.
I just kind of noticed after every reading, everyone just goes. I think we have time for, let's see, we got 10 minutes, so two to three more questions. So, over here, here's one. Hi, just one more question.
Sure.
I think sometimes the problem with us, with those of us who write, is that we're never really satisfied with what we write. Sometimes we think it's over, but then we give it a day, we look back, and we don't like it at all. So when you decide that enough is enough, when you decide you're not going to touch it?
I think you just, well, if I sort of write and then, I'm just not happy with how it's turning out, I'll just sort of leave it. And there've been lots of poems that I've written that I really liked at the time, and, now I just think, I don't, you just don't like it as much. It's just really strange how it works. And I think the thing with time is it gives you that sort of perspective. And that's an interesting thing because, I had all the time in the world basically to write my poetry, just away from, publishing or anything like that, without an audience. That now it's like I haven't had that luxury of time to look back on my poetry and to really kind of give it, that perspective. So, basically I think, you'll write things, you won't like them, but the thing is, other people might like them. So there are poems that I really like that haven't been as popular, and then there are others that, I haven't liked as much that have been, that have gone really well. So you just never know. It's like I said, poetry is so subjective, and that's why. So don't be too hard on yourself with your poetry.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. First of all, thank you for being here. And
thank you so much.
Said, I'm really also amazed how you were able to capture such fleeting moments, I think, and powerful feelings. And I just want to know, for all the subjects you could write about, I mean, why about love? Why about adventure?
I think, love is such a powerful force in your life. I mean, I can't speak for everyone, but personally for me, it's been a real defining thing in my life. Falling in love and, the whole experience of it, it's really intoxicating. And I think when your emotions are, really strong, like you mentioned, where it's good or bad, I think that sort of becomes energy and fuel for creativity. And I think that's, those really powerful emotions, that's what I put into my creativity. And for me, love has been the trigger point for that. So it's been my, favourite subject.
So hi, I'm Sam.
Hi.
Thank you for coming here today.
Thank you for having me.
One of my favorites is actually Letting Him Go on page 69.
Yeah.
It's helping me deal with a lot of things. So
thank you. Yes, I can read it. What was the page again? Sorry?
69.
69, okay, great. Letting him go. There is a particular kind of suffering to be experienced when you love something greater than yourself, a tender sacrifice. Like the pain silence felt in a lost song of a mermaid, or the bent and broken feet of a dancing ballerina. It is in every considered step I'm taking in an opposite direction of you. You're welcome.
We've got room for one more question. So, there, I see it.
Hi, Lang.
Hi.
I just want to ask if you and Michael have any plans on writing a book together. And can you read closure?
Yes. Yeah, we were actually thinking of, doing a book together. Michael's got his book coming out. I've got another book coming out, and then Michael's going to write this, finishes this really beautiful Gothic novella that he's been working on for ages, and that's really exciting. After that, there's a sort of there are a lot of collaborations that we obviously talk about doing. Maybe one on mermaids that we've been talking about for a while, and that's something that we want to incorporate, almost like a novella, but with pictures and things. So there definitely will be a collaboration at some point, like a proper collaboration. Absolutely. And closure was the one. What was 55? Closure. Like time suspended, a balloon unmended, you and I. We had no ending, no said goodbye. For all my life, I wonder why. Thank you.